What if the best story in Jacksonville wasn't just about the city's future, but the people who've committed their lives to shaping it? In this episode of This Is Jax, I sit down with Angie Campbell, publisher of the Jacksonville Daily Record, who shares her incredible rise from receptionist to publisher over nearly 3 decades. We talk about her deep roots in Arlington, what makes Jacksonville's business community uniquely collaborative, and why she believes now is finally the moment downtown Jax will thrive. From legal ads to vertical living, Angie breaks down the real story behind how this city runs and why she'll never call anywhere else home. Welcome back to This Is Jax, the hyperlocal podcast focused on living life in Jacksonville and Northeast Florida. If you're considering digging your roots in Jacksonville, then this is the show for you. All right, I'm sitting here with Angie Campbell. She's the publisher of the Jax Daily Record. Angie, welcome to This Is Jax. Thanks for taking time on your busy schedule.
Thank you for having me on, Nate.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm glad we're getting into it here. And you've got, you're a Jacksonville local. I'm always excited to bring Jacksonville locals on the show. You did spend a little bit of time away, and we'll talk about that. So let's just kind of dive right in. We'll talk, let's share a little bit of your story. Let's start with that. You've had an incredible journey with the Jacksonville Daily Record going all the way back to 1997, which is impressive nowadays. And can you walk us through how you got started there, what your journey looked like over the years, and what it means to you now to lead that company as a publisher?
I would love to. Yeah. So grew up here in Jacksonville in the Arlington area. And even in high school, one of my first jobs was in the downtown area. So I've had a connection to our city in living downtown. When I would learn to drive, if I found downtown, I felt like I found home. And so it's always held a very special place in my heart.
Yeah.
Like most people, when you grow up in Jacksonville, you think that Jacksonville has nothing to offer and you can't wait to get out of this city. And I have to say I did the same thing. I moved around for a couple of years and right back home. But the difference in perspective and your mindset when you come back home is that I never want to leave again. Maybe to Mexico.
Yeah, that's a big part. Listen,
is my home.
That's a big part of This Is Jax. That's a big part of what we're combating is just like, there's nothing to do here. There's nothing to offer me. And so I'm excited that you're on here and you're saying, hey, I experienced those same feelings at one point, but here I am years later. So I can't wait to get into it.
Absolutely. I'm definitely a Florida girl at heart. I think that there is plenty to do. The fact was I was 20 and didn't have any money or any really life experience. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But I think that Jacksonville has everything that there is to offer every place else. We have great arts, great culture, you name it, we have it here. And this is just, I knew where I wanted to be. So when I got here, then if this is where I want to be, then, I need a job.
Yeah.
Moved back, I had a baby. And as a parent, I wanted to give him a life that I didn't have, create something better for us. And babies need to eat, frankly. And so all I needed was a job. I didn't know that it was going to lead to the career that it has, but I'm thankful and I'm blessed to know that it did. I do count myself very fortunate. I've had a lot of opportunities over the years to grow with this company, and every day a challenge, a new hurdle to figure out how we're going to overcome. And I love that. It's continued to fire me up over the years. So here I am today.
Yeah.
I started again 1997 when I got that job. Bailey Publishing, which owned the Jacksonville Daily Record at the time, they were looking for a secretary or receptionist. And so very limited responsibility initially, but over time, anytime there was a downtime, I looked for opportunities to help another department that was busy or learn a new skill, something that would be of benefit, always asking questions and jumping in where I could. And that led to future growth. So the Daily Record's always been a small family-owned company. And so you're not put in a box here.
Yeah. So I was reading through that, and you've got this this is off of your LinkedIn, that you've managed all facets of the business. And I'm going to read them off: legal, display, advertising, sales, advertising and legal advertising production, circulation, accounting, office maintenance, human resources. So that's a ton of stuff. And now you're doing the daily operations, workflow. So you've worn a ton of different hats there over the years, from sales, production, HR. What experiences do you think best prepared you for the publisher role along that path?
I would probably say
It's like a culmination of
ridiculous answer. I get that. But I think as a receptionist, there's no better way to learn about a company than being that front line.
Just getting the calls, whatever, walking. Okay.
What? How do we do it? What is our stance on? You naturally ask all of those questions when you're at the front line. I think circulation has done a lot of that. There's a lot of rules and regulations in that, and with legal advertising. They go hand in hand. And so learning the laws, understanding what you can and can't do, how do you grow your business while at the same time you can't really, there's certain things you have to do within that sandbox that you're given, right? And so all of that, talking to our subscribers, hearing from our advertisers on what's important to them, I think all of it has led that journey.
So for the listener out there that's not sure what that legal advertising looks like, what is that exactly? Can you break that down and the importance of it?
Sure. So there are certain notices that needs to be advertised in accordance with law to make them public. So we call them public notices and or legal advertising. Okay. So some of examples of those are bid notices with the city. Before they go forward with a job or select a vendor, they have to put things out for bid, right?
Okay.
If you are going through family law and you need to notice the other person, you can't serve them directly, then you have to go through a process.
Okay.
Closure before they can take your property. You and the public have a right to know that is the next step. So taking it back to the homeownership.
Or like CDD, HOA board meetings that have to be put out there because, although there's a lot of neighborhoods that have kind of like private little Facebook groups and stuff, that's not necessarily official,
it's not public.
Right? It's not recognized.
Not public.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Here, there are a lot of laws around public notice, how you do it, who can do it, ensuring that it's done properly in the right way. We have one of our founding relationships, right? Jacksonville business is built on relationships. And we were very fortunate. Since 1926, we've been partners with the Jacksonville Bar Association since the early 1960s with the Duval County courts. We are 100% the experts here in Duval County. And in the past couple of years, we've also expanded into surrounding Clay, St. Johns, and Nassau counties offering those same services and expertise.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive to have that long tenure there, both the company and then you. I mean, I will credit you for that because we live in a day and age where so many people are kind of like hopping from one to the next. And so it's not all the time that you meet somebody who really kind of started at the bottom entry level position and work their way up. So it's really cool. This next segment, I kind of want to talk a little bit more about the city, and you kind of segued in there perfectly talking about the city as a community and the way the businesses work together. You spent decades here growing this local business and this brand, so it's clear you love the city. What really made you fall in love with it and keeps you excited about it today and in its future?
Well, I think that has a lot to do with what I do too. I do have to say, being in the media, being in the know, knowing what's coming, seeing it every day. I don't work from home at my kitchen table. I am in the middle of downtown, right?
Yeah.
I am out and about in every area that we can be. And I think understanding and knowing and seeing that there are so many people that are working together, building partnerships and trying to move the city forward, seeing the heart and the passion behind that, I think you can't help but to want that even more for someone who has poured their passion into a project. To see that come to fruition and see that be successful, it's one of the great joys. That's a good day when you get to celebrate those things.
It's one of the resounding themes on this show. Everybody I'm talking to, as I'm getting more and more connected to the business community and the local leaders here, how important the relationships are in this city and how it operates that way. And it feels unique. I mean, I don't know. I've been here 20 years and came from South Florida. You've been here almost your whole life. So I guess we're not, I haven't lived in 10 different cities or experienced them, but I believe from my time away in different places that it operated a little bit different. And maybe that was from, older, the parents of my friends or my parents and seeing their relationships. It does feel unique here. So it's something I always kind of talk about. So as the city has grown, that being said, as Jacksonville has grown, how has that impacted the Daily Record's coverage and their mission?
So I think more than the growth necessarily, our mission and our ownership changed in 2017. For more than 100 years, we were owned by the same family that created the Daily Record. And we did what we did and we served Duval County. I think that a change maker for us was in the sale of the Daily Record from Bailey to Observer, the owner of Observer Media Group in Sarasota, also a local family owned and operated company.
Okay, cool.
I think that's a distinguisher for us, being owned by someone who also is that family base. We have the same values, the same ideals, and then knowing that our mission here is to provide extraordinary local business coverage, provide the information business owners need to know, and help our partners prosper. If we stay focused on that North Star, um, that has really helped our growth. We know what we need to do. And so then listening and talking to, again, our people who subscribe, the people who read us, the business owners and our advertisers, business owners that look to grow their business through us, understanding that as a business owner, maybe we need to take a more regional approach. Business in general has taken a regional approach. The chamber takes a regional approach. So it's not Duval centric any longer. As we've grown, we have had to also expand that coverage area. And that has really been a game changer for us, not only in the coverage area and being able to provide the resources and information to our readers, but also then being able to expand our services and expertise into those other counties has also been good for us.
Yeah, and that is something to compare to other cities. Like I remember being down in Tampa, St. Pete. You had St. Pete, Clearwater, and then you had Tampa on the other side of the bay. And it was like if I remember doing real estate down there, if it was like, hey, I got an opportunity for something, you're gonna drive across the bridge to go to, and we have a little bit of that here, except the river cuts right through the center of downtown and through Duval.
Right.
So it's not that as much as some people try to avoid it. It's still a part of it. And me, like in real estate, my world mostly is like Duval, St. John's, and Clay. So I operate in those three kind of on Duval on the southern side of Duval mostly. Sometimes we go up north. But that, like, you're like, hey, I'm in 3 different counties in one day, whether I'm driving. There's a lot of business people, roofers, pressure washers, home inspectors, anybody in my industry. Like, you can't just be like, no, my office is at the beach and I stay at the beach and that's where we are.
Right.
So I can understand how that would be. And you brought up advertisements. And so this is key. You're putting legal notices out there for the bids. So you've got a lot of companies who are watching you, who are subscribing. And so I would guess that for an advertiser, you're able to get in front of a lot of other businesses. So maybe you're able to create some vendor relationships or some business to business relationships. How important is that to the Daily Record, and how what's the right word I'm looking for? Like how beneficial is it for somebody to advertise in your newspaper?
Sure. I would say extremely.
Yeah.
That's the short answer. Yes, we are not a nonprofit.
Yeah.
We are a for-profit media company. That being said, we have been very strategic in growing our audience and growing the right kind of audience for our advertisers. We don't want to grow for the sake of growth. We provide business news for the business owner. And do up and coming leaders and or business development sales strategists, do they read us? Sure, because at the end of the day, who doesn't want to know what the boss knows, right?
Yeah.
If you plan to grow in your career, you probably want to, you're always asking questions. You want to educate yourself. You want to be prepared when you go in that meeting. You know what development is coming around the corner. It just makes you better. So in that way, we have been strategic in growing our audience for the sake of, again, our partners. We can't do what we do without revenue, right? We are a business.
Right.
The stories that we write, they generate zero revenue. We are advertising based. And so having our advertisers come together with us in, I believe in your mission, but more importantly, my business needs your eyeballs, and aligning those. I've worked with several that year over year, we go in with one goal. Maybe the first year it's rebranding. They've come in and they've taken over a company. Nobody knows who they are. So the first year, we're getting their name out there. All right. So finally, wow, everybody knows who I am. This is great. I'm known in the industry. I'm known by my competitors. More importantly, I'm known by a new group of clients or customers. The second year, they want to, move up in market share and revenue. Okay. So we target certain things and we grow their business in that way. Third year, I'm under a rebrand again, or I'm launching a new product line, or whatever the case is. We align their messages and what their needs are to our audience. And that's what.
No, that's very cool. And it's in
their approach.
Yeah. And the testament to you're still in business after, how many years exactly was it? It's like, it's a lot of 100 years, right? More than 100 years?
Over 100. Yeah. We started in 1912.
Yeah. So
113 years.
Yeah. So that's a testament to that like, those ads, that ad money, that's what's keeping it in business. Okay. So as you're watching those trends, as you're seeing the ads come in, as you're seeing the things, so are there certain trends you're seeing now that make you even more optimistic about the future of Northeast Florida? Maybe today compared to, 10 years ago, or what kind of, are you excited about the future of Jax?
Of course I'm excited about the future of Jax. I will say, it has been one of those things working in downtown for decades. I would say, we're on the cusp, like we're right there. Downtown is really going to, take off, and we're going to get it together, and we're going to get to the next hurdle. It always felt like it was just right there, like so close.
Bay Street comes online, and then all of a sudden it's closed again. Like, what happened? Yeah. Or the Riverwalk, and then there's no shops in it. Yeah. Okay. So.
And so now we're seeing real investment money. I mean, real investment money and vertical, and there's cranes. And once again, there is a lot of activity downtown. There is more than a group. There are several people that are really doing everything they can to launch our downtown and development.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, just keeping that going. I don't think in the end that's not going to be enough. We're going to have to create that corridors. We're going to have to create that walkability, that safety. But there again, it ties right into everything that the city is doing on the public side as well. Redoing the parks, two-way streets, slowing down traffic, giving retail a chance. Now, do we know if it is the answer? Well, we know what's not the answer. What we had been doing. And so I think trying new things and changing, you have to.
We were at the Downtown Council breakfast this past Friday. The CEO of JTA was there, and he said something that I thought was very important. And it's something that I say. Now, I am into real estate, not trying to say I'm on that same level. What I mean by it is, like, in my world, I get, we need a more grocery store downtown. We need more restaurants downtown. Downtown's dead at nighttime. And my thing as, somebody who's in real estate, I'm like, well, we can build, who's going to shop there? Who's going to go there? Who's going to be there? And that's kind of my question to them. It's similar to what he was saying, because they were talking about, hey, we need a bus stop here. And it's like, well, who's going to take that route? And so one of the things that I see is there's a lot of office space downtown, but not a lot of vertical residential. There's a little of it. And I'm always from South Florida, I'm like high-rise condo guy. And I'm like, man, there's some beautiful spots we could have. And I know there's some plans for them. And I'm like, if they come, now we have people who live there, because if it's just office space and people drive downtown, then they go home and they live in the suburbs. And so when they pick up their family or go to eat or walk their dog, it's going to be in the suburbs where they live, not in the downtown area. So personally, I like to see those residential high rises come online. And then I think now you have the demand for the infrastructure of, the river walks and the restaurants and the entertainment and that kind of thing. And I hope, and I believe from everything I'm seeing, and I don't know if you can kind of say you feel the same way, I feel like that's coming online, and similar to what he was saying last week was it's kind of all got to be done at the same time. If you put the people there, but you don't have the stuff, that's a failure. If you put the stuff there, the support, but you don't have the people with the demand, then that's also a failure. So it's like trying to get it to all align is the challenging part. And the city may have had some, all at one time. So when you say we're on the cusp of it again, I feel like we're poised right there again, and hopefully that big investment money. And I do see that. We did an episode on the Four Seasons and even the sports complex that's really coming on. I've highlighted some of that recently. So I feel that with you after being here so long. I'm excited about it. What's next
Yeah.
for your brand? You mentioned earlier offline we talked about.
Hey,
Yeah.
before we jump ahead, back on the development part, I think
Yeah.
another hurdle for Jacksonville and development and creating those high rises is it comes back to money at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right now, I believe that the development and activity that we're seeing, at least on the residential side here in downtown, like with Gateway Jacks, I believe that a lot of that is done by people really, really believing in this city. But it's hard to get outside investors who maybe don't have the passion, again, um, to come in and do what they're doing.
Right.
Right now, the next hurdle is going to be making these projects affordable and a reality. At least these investors need to know that they're going to make their money back, and so that's going to be our next challenge in creating more of that density and high rise. So,
Yeah.
but there again, homes for everybody, right? We need some for rent, some to buy, condos.
Yeah. Yeah, apartments, condos. It would be nice. I would like to see it. And then I think that will also, if we get there, and it might be a 25-year plan. But if we get there, it answers a lot of that. There's nothing to do here. Like, oh, there's a lot to do here. There already is, but it would be even more. Okay, so what's next for you? You mentioned this in some of the notes, the Big Book of Business. Can you tell me more about that?
I can. We are really excited to launch this summer a new resource magazine that will be an annual resource guide for our readers, for our business owners, to keep them informed of what's going on. So that this magazine isn't you read it and you've read it and you're done with it, but more of something that they can go back to, refer, learn from, use as an ongoing resource. So it'll be broken up into 3 different segments. The first section is data, economic information that's going to help our business owners with changing trends and for them to be able to forecast forward. So knowing what zip codes have the most population and what revenue areas, those kinds of charts and graphs that will really dictate maybe where future growth for businesses.
Okay. Like a demographic breakdown type, all kinds.
You name it.
Okay.
If it is important data structures for our readers, it will be included in that big book.
Okay, cool.
And then lists of the top public companies, top realtors. We'll use all of our partners. So we're partners with NAOP, with NEFBA, with NEFAR, the Chamber. So we'll get those lists and have those available as well on who's who, if you will. So those are going to be great for sales generation and things like that. And then the last segment is going to be people you should know. Several years ago, Karen Mathis, our editor-in-chief, she used to write columns on the people you should know. And maybe it's the head of the SBDC, or maybe it's, the leadership of a major organization. Who's behind the things that are moving the city forward?
Okay.
And so our thought and idea behind that is they're not going to be full articles, but more profile information, so that when you have a need, there will be that resource for you of connection. So
okay.
So yeah, we're excited today.
And that's launching this summer?
It is.
Okay, cool. And then that's going to be something that updated annually.
Yes,
right?
It'll be an annual resource guide.
Okay, very cool. I'll be looking out for that for sure, because I'm always in need of that. Okay, let's get to a little bit, kind of a fun segment here. So a little rapid fire. I might know the answer to some of these, but for the listeners, obviously, they haven't got a chance to talk to you. All right, favorite Jack's coffee shop?
Well, Southern Grounds.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? And I prefer the one in Avondale, but I never turn my nose out to good coffee, so Southern Grounds.
I'm a big Avondale fan, so when I'm there, and I had an office at River and Post. You're supposed to be rapid fire, and here we are talking about it. So I had an office in the River and Post building on the 3rd floor, and so I would spend a lot of mornings at Southern Grounds. Now I'm at the beach. It's Sago Coffee for me. Okay, hidden gem in the city.
One of my favorite places since they have renovated it is Friendship Fountain.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm not kidding, and people laugh, but
I've
had family come into town and I'm like, oh my gosh, we have to go to the fountain. And they're all just like, are you kidding me? We have to go to the fountain. And I'm like, you don't understand. I think it's amazing.
There's a lot of people down there enjoying the moment. Yeah.
Yes. Families, kids dancing around. There's always activation happening, music, lights. I think that's one thing that so far our city has really done right. And and it's leading off.
And the playground is opening up soon.
Yeah.
We drive by, like, I've been going to the shrimp games.
Open.
Okay, it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, because my kids keep seeing it when we go to the shrimp games. We go across the Main Street Bridge, and they're scoping it out. Yeah, hidden gem for me, food. I just went there yesterday with my daughter. Fast Eddie's. If you're over on Bay Meadows and 295, go to Fast Eddie's. It is Iraq and American cuisine. So these brothers are from Iraq, and they've come here. But well, I think they came over when they were younger, but their family is from Iraq, and so they've got like the best of like the like Iraqi food, and then they love American food, so they've got all the burgers and onion rings and stuff, and then they've got a couple dishes that are like combining the two. So it's really unique, and then they play hard rock and roll music in there. So it's definitely somewhere you want to check out. All right, if you could grab lunch with any local leader, and you may have already knocked them out, so if it's someone you've already had lunch with, that's fine. But if you could have lunch with a local leader, who would it be and why?
I would probably say Lori Boyer. She
Okay.
is the executive director for the DIA. She's a former city councilwoman. I think that her heart and her passion and her drive, there's not many people that can do all that she's done and continue to push forward with such determination. I respect her immensely in the work that she's done for our city. And I think she does things for the right reasons. And so who would want to spend an hour with somebody like that?
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. We'll make note of that. All right. So before we wrap up, for our listeners who want to stay informed with the best business and legal news in Jacksonville, where can they find you and the Daily Record?
Super easy online, jacksdailyrecord.com. Read us every day. You can sign up for our morning newsletter, The Daily Brief. It will be in your inbox before you leave for work. That way you are ready when you walk out the door for everything that's to come. We're in print every Thursday. You can subscribe to The Daily Record in print format and through our e-app, e-edition. That's what we're going to call it. On our every Thursday. We have 100 free rack locations throughout the 4 counties. So if you're not yet a subscriber and you want to pick us up, we're in business areas all over the place. You can also find those on our website, or you can, just pick up the phone.
And you're on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram.
Social media,
all of the above. jacksdailyrecord.com. That's the quickest way to go there. Well, Angie, it's been good getting to know you and having this conversation. It's definitely an interesting part, and our mission here is to really find out, if you watch like my very first episode, like we're going to talk to those who are behind the city who make it run. And this is definitely a part of it. So it's awesome to finally, get you on here, get the Daily Record on here. Thanks so much for taking time out of your schedule.
The stories. I don't know if we're making it happen, but we're telling the stories of those who are.
So hey, it's an important part. It's super important. So I appreciate you coming on. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Nate.